Friends, I've manifested a unicorn, and it comes in the form of this Audi A6 4.2 V8. It's manual swapped, it's on BC coils, and it's got a bunch of other things that I think are super cool. I'm gonna run you guys through everything that the A6 is and isn't. We'll go on a little drive. I'll tell you a story about buying this whole car and how I managed to manifest it, and we're gonna get into all of that right now. Right, so like I said in the intro, this A6 is really something special. This is the second generation of Audi A6, and it comes at a time in Audi's history where they're making a resurgence into the US market. They've gone through the debacle of the unintended acceleration. It really came down to user error. And as it turned out, Audi's brake pedal was positioned a little closer to the gas pedal than most American cars, and so people found themselves stepping on the gas when they thought they were stepping on the brake.
From government and independent sources shows a correlation between both a driver's familiarity with the Audi 5000 and unintended acceleration incidents.
Audi says today, we've looked at it and there is no problem. You just don't believe them.
Absolutely not. I don't believe them for one moment.
That unintended acceleration issue haunted Audi for quite a while, and so here in the mid-2000s is where Audi found their resurgence. Their A4 was gaining tons of traction. This A6, which as you can see is incredibly beautiful, is more special than any other C5 A6. And now you might say, Ollie, what's the big deal? It's an A6. It's not an S6. It's not an RS6, but it is something that neither of those cars ever were. And to be fair, it wasn't born this way. So from the factory, Audi supplies this V8. It's a 4.2 liter all aluminum 5-valve per cylinder engine, 40 total valves. Just a really beautiful machine. And you might say, Ali, Audis are junk. They do crazy things like put the timing chain at the back of the engine that requires engine out jobs for these sort of things. And I'm here to tell you that the beautiful thing about this engine is that it has a timing belt at the front. So highly serviceable, which is amazing. The other great thing about this car is that it was manual swapped with what they call a 01E transmission that comes out of like an S4. So it has a 6-speed manual transmission now, which solved one of the major problems of this chassis, which was the transmissions were known to be a little weak, but totally different transmission here now. Additionally, this car is also on BC coilover suspension, so lower and stiffer. But these aren't the things that really attracted me to this car initially. What attracted me to this car was the things that attract most people. It was the body. It's incredibly juicy. Audi, when they put the V8 in here, they had to make some changes to the chassis, and with those changes came incredible fender flares and wide arches. The car actually gained 1.4 inches of width and 1.6 inches of length. To fit in the engine, they had to make that extra width. They did, while doing that, change the front end to an all aluminum fenders and aluminum hood. And it does have unique headlights and bumper to the V8. So you can't just go grab these things off your normal A6. And so really, you know, when it comes time to wash the car, it's a very sensual experience, not unlike bath time with your lover. You know, just got a lot of shape. And so that's what initially attracted me to the car. It also has these incredibly beautiful door blades, and these blades are not just aesthetic, they are also functional. So true to Audi's philosophy of innovative design and technology, These door blades actually are for aerodynamics, so they improve the airflow and stability while also giving it a nice muscular look. And honestly, I think these door blades are amazing. As far as I know, this is where the door blades debuted. You can find these on S4s, and they come on all roads as well, but they debuted on the V8, and just a beautiful package. So as you can imagine, it's quattro. It is a 300 horsepower engine, and the engine gets its 300 horsepower of torque, or rather, I guess it's 296 foot-pounds of torque that's available to you at 3,000 RPM to 4,000 RPM. So good usable range, but then the actual power band continues right on up to about 7,500 RPM redline. And in the normal A6 V8 with an automatic transmission, it's not nearly as enjoyable because it's so much harder to use that range of power unless you're manually shifting sort of the sport Tiptronic mode of the auto. But when it comes to the manual, it releases a whole beast in this car that is just so fun to drive and begs to go to redline on every shift. So really, really amazing car. As you can clearly see by the shape of this thing, it takes a lot of cues from the Audi TT, which was debuted, I believe, in '94 at the Frankfurt Auto Show, and then 3 years later in '97 was really where the A6 made its debut. The V8 itself, I believe, is 2003, 2004 model. I'll have to check my stats on that, but it is a limited model. And now, going back to manifesting, right? You're like, well, what do you mean you manifested this car? And I'll tell you. It was about 6 months ago when I was searching for my winter car, and I'd become aware of this V8 and started to really, enjoy the look of it. And I thought to myself, I would love, if possible, to have a V8 like that. And not only that, but of course, I would want it manual swapped, which is realistic. And then, of course, if it was on suspension, it would just be an amazing sled, just cruising around, big juicy thing, and also fun in the canyons, but beautiful on the road. And, here I am about 6 months later, all of this was fed to me. Of course, it was fed to me by Facebook Marketplace, which, I don't know, do you want to call that manifesting, or do you want to call that the algorithm? I don't know. But putting the intention out there, I randomly stumbled onto this car. My buddy Davey sent it to me, I believe, out of Colorado, and he said, check this thing out. So I looked at it, and sure enough, it was a manual swapped V8 on coilovers. It was just what I wanted. Now, I'll be honest with you, the miles are high compared to what I was looking for. We're at 235,000 miles on this car. So not great. And the body is nowhere near perfect. I've got lots of things to do. But it's one of those diamonds in the rough. And the price was so right. And so here we are with this amazing manual swapped V8. And I really couldn't be happier. It certainly has been putting me through the paces. As an older car, it needed some maintenance things. It did have a timing chain service and a new clutch recently with new water pump. And so those are things that really sort of negate the total miles for me. If everything is maintained, miles are just a number. And, parts wear out, but when you replace them, things can really run forever as long as your chassis isn't rusted out. And so that's really where we are here. Since I've had this car, I've done front axles on it. I've done some cooling system work with new reservoir, and I did have to go deep into what they call the Buffkin pipe replacement, which was a tiny metal pipe that I installed, which was previously plastic. It just fails over time. And, all of these things are annoying, but they're easy to do, and they take time, and time takes money. So that's kind of why these cars end up getting pushed to the side, because at a certain point, the cost to repair the Buffkin pipe is going to nearly exceed the value of your car. But for me, I'm gonna grab wrenches and I'm gonna fix it up, and so it's no big deal. I'm gonna keep this thing running for quite some time. So as beautiful as this thing is on the outside, the inside offers just as much. Audi is one of my favorite brands when it comes to design. Like, even if you don't enjoy Audis or you're afraid of them because you heard they were mechanical issues and nightmares, you can't deny that they're beautiful cars and the design is amazing. I mean, when it comes to engineering, the engineering is amazing as well. It's just annoying when they engineer something in a way that requires so many hours for repairs. It's not, thinking of a mechanic or your pocketbook. It's just thinking of how to design the best car until you throw that car away. So let's go inside and take a look at how amazing this thing is. All right, so on the inside here, you can see this is an upgrade option for the sport seats. And when you get the sport package, it does come with a little bit stiffer suspension, and it comes with bigger brakes and these sport seats, which are just amazing. It's really a little bit of a letdown if you find a V8 that didn't get that upgrade, because the other seats are significantly more flat, and these ones just hug so well, and it's just such a clean design in here. There's some nice cool features like cup holders that pop out. There's one here too that also doesn't function anymore, typical over-engineered German action. It does have a CD player and a tape player, which I think is super fun. And just really clean design on the inside. And of course, this is the reason for the whole purchase almost. 6-speed manual swap, 01E, great transmission, and just makes this car so much fun to cruise around in. And when it comes to all the touch points in the car, the haptics, and all of the little things, Audi is just known for all of that and the detail to interior design. And honestly, this one checks all the boxes for me. Super clean. The touch points are just really nice. The feedback, the click sounds, everything is so nice on this and clean. And this is really a pretty clean example despite all of the miles that it does have. Here in the back, you can see it's just as beautiful as the front. Great clean design. You've got heated seats, which are amazing, and just really, tastefully done. Less is more, 100% back here. Just really clean and inviting. One of the other unique features is privacy shades that come up, and they do click into place. I don't really use those much. We've got tint. The engineers even flexed on the ashtray with this soft touch opening and the push on the lid to eject the ashtray itself. Pretty cool. That's why I love Audi, even if it's over-engineered. Another interesting, often neglected feature back here is the first aid kit. People always forget about these because they're kind of hidden. Comes with probably more first aid than you could ever need. It's just full of gauze. Even has surgical scissors and a space blanket. All right, so now that we've gotten to take a look at the inside, let me take you for a drive and tell you a little story. All right, here we go. So this thing does have some exhaust modifications, something about feline delete or something. But honestly, I think I'll need to redo the exhaust with something proper, because basically it looks like the guy I bought it from just grabbed whatever was laying around his yard, like some exhaust from a Fox body, and just welded that on here, because it's not even the same size tubing. In fact, it's a reduction in tubing, which, if you don't know, is a negative. It's better to have the same size tubing or bigger tubing. More flow is usually better. So that's something that we'll have to change. And then, you know, there were a lot of things when you buy a project that you got to look out for. So I've just been going through this thing, and you know, as I mentioned, I replaced the axles on it. I knew the boots were bad when I bought the car, but through replacing the axles, I, you know, got my hands on a bunch of different bolts under the car and you know, motor mounts and things like that. And come to find out that you know, there's some things that needed some tightening. Some things were loose. There's definitely some weird stuff going on where, like, there's a wire that's running underneath the transmission and the engine and then back up into the firewall, and that just kind of blows my mind. There's no need to route it that way. I'm not sure if that's the neutral safety switch deceiver, because you have to kind of deceive the car to tell it that the neutral safety switch for the old automatic is in effect, so that way, you know, it won't keep the car from going somewhere. So just some little things that have to be done with these manual swaps. Actually, as a point of interest, there is a company in Arizona called, I believe it's called S4 Parts. I'll put a link in the description, but they do manual swaps on these cars. I believe it's like $2,500 out the door, which is pretty amazing. So, you know, you could find yourself one of these V8 A6s and have them manual swap it. That would be the way to go. You'd have an amazing car, in my opinion. And if you are looking for a V8 or a manual swapped V8, or happen to know where some are, hit me up, because I'll be happy to broker a deal on something like that. Story time. I've been playing the memory game on the marketplace, so it's like, you know, you see parts you want, you save them, and then maybe you find a use for them again sometime later. So in my mind, I thought, if I did ever find this manual swapped V8, I would really love for it to have A8 forged sewer caps. Now, these are a forged A8 wheel. It's a monoblock. It looks very much like a Mercedes style monoblock, and it came on the A8Ls only. And I did happen to find a set that was local to Salt Lake City on the marketplace, and so I just saved it. And then sure enough, this car came up, the A8 wheels were still available, and this whole beautiful package started to come together. Now, I can't say that these wheels really fit well on this car. I did have to invest $400 in spacers, high-end aluminum spacers that bolt onto the hub, and then your wheels bolt onto those. I did actually space these wheels out 30 millimeters in the front and 40 millimeters in the back, which is basically as much as you can go. You can't deny that the fitment is perfect. And honestly, these wheels play with the body of this car so nicely, how they're, you know, they're slightly dished and just big and chunky. It just fits with the whole vibe of this car. And honestly, I really couldn't be happier with what I've been able to achieve with this car so far, and so cheaply. So once I'd negotiated with this guy on Facebook Marketplace, he really wanted to sell me the car versus anyone else because of what I was going to do with it. Breathe new life into it, feature it on my channel, you know, keep it going, versus someone who might just end up beating it up and running it into the ground. And so that's where we are now. You know, I've gone through a lot of efforts to make this thing look a lot nicer on the inside. When I took delivery of this car, it had the full green skulls hydro dip treatment, and so all of the interior trim hydro dipped green skulls. It's inside the headlights, which I still haven't gotten around to dealing with. I do have a full set of headlights that I'm going to bake and take apart and make one set of headlights between the two of these guys. And so we'll get this thing back to looking like a normal car instead of some 12-year-old's dream. But also, if you wanted to get into a full green skulls Audi A6 C5 setup, I've got it for sale right now on the marketplace, and the link is in the description. So you can get the green skull shifter, you can get all of the trim, and also the blacked out with green skull wheels. So, you know, if that's your vibe, drop in. I won't be mad at you. I'll be happy for you. And I get it. I mean, it looks cool for some, but not really what I'm into. So I do have a bunch of things still to do to this car. You may have noticed in the video that the clear coat on this car is definitely suffering. I do have a little bit of rust here and there that needs to be dealt with, but it's all surface. So I'm going to deal with that rust. I've got this Poppy's Patina rub-on clear coat, wipe-on clear coat, that everything I've read about it says that this is going to be the perfect thing. And honestly, it will be the ideal fix for this car, because when I do things, I have to do everything within reason, right? So, you know, you're not going to throw a couple $1,000s at a paint job at this car or wrap it. That's going to cost you a lot of money as well. So, you know, I'm going to fix little paint spots, and then I'm going to fix the clear coat with the wipe on. It's going to probably do, I would say, 95 to 98% difference and really improve the look of the car. And that's going to be, I think, appropriate. The cost of that kit, I think, was just over 100 something bucks. So you can look forward to a video of that. Just listen to that thing. Right up to 7,000. Just eating it up. And smooth. So smooth. So if you want to see more videos of this car actually driving and get that whole experience, I'll put a couple links, because I do have the initial pickup video where I picked this up in Colorado and drove it back to Utah, and that's got some great driving in it. Independence Pass and some other Colorado roads, and then also got the video of driving one of my favorite roads, Big Mountain East Canyon, where we unfortunately tapped a guardrail a little bit in this car. So those videos are linked in the description. And, you know, that kind of brings us to the end of it all. So thank you guys for checking it out. Like I said, you got any questions about the Audi A6 V8, hit me up. If you're looking for one, hit me up. I know where to find them. And otherwise, friends, you know the deal. Love the ones you're with. Be kind to those around you. And otherwise, just enjoy the day, and we'll catch you on the next one.